Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, Ril Gerald Quinn, episode 99996. That's my son. As always, I will be discussing the world of sports and pop culture. Obviously, a heavy NFL and NBA show, heavy on the NFL. We'll get to something. We'll get to the NBA towards the latter part of the program. Again, we are just 4 episodes away. Well, now 3 episodes away, not including this one. Not not including this one from 1,000, which should be taking place on April 8th. So be on the lookout for that. Um, as always, as always, you can like, subscribe, or share this podcast. All your support is greatly appreciated. And we begin with the deep dive. NFL free agency. Um, no matter how many years, I love free agency, especially now that my team is pretty good and playoff caliber teams. I used to hate it because we used to be, as a Washington Commanders fan, it used to be just a horrible, horrible time of year. We can go back to, you know, overpaying in 2000 with Deion Sanders and Mark Carrier and or going, Albert Hainsworth and what have you. It's pick one, pick 2000, pick 2008, pick 2006, pick a year. Washington was known for just giving money away, just giving money away. Now look at these teams, and and they continue to just give money away. Before I get to the free agents, let me get to the quarterbacks first. So Sam Darnold gets traded. Excuse me, not Sam Darnold gets traded. Seattle signs Sam Darnold. He gets 3 years, $110 million, $55 million guaranteed. So he's making around $33 million a year. The exact details of his contract have not came out as far as how much it's going to count against the cap, as far as how the contract is structured from year to year and what have you. Some of the juicy stuff that us nerds like to look at as far as how we gauge how much this is going to affect the franchise in terms of their spending from year to year, in terms of what you can do with the rest of your football team. But what we do know, and what I can look up, is the fact that over the course of Sam Darnold's career, he's been in the league since 2018. This would be year number 8 for Sam Darnold. Still under 30. Darnold's still relatively young quarterback. He's had one good year, one. And this past year, he was spectacular. 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, threw for over 4,000, 4,300 yards. Was a legit MVP candidate. He never had a chance to win, but was a legit top 5 MVP candidate this year. No problem with that. Had a big year. But here's the thing. If you watched how Sam Darnold finished the season, in particular, uh, in the games against Detroit, at Detroit, and in the playoff game against the Rams, you as a franchise who were looking to get a quarterback, or looking to sign a quarterback, who had money to sign a quarterback, you could have probably almost, to me, in some ways, named your price when it came to Sam Darnold. Like, seriously, like I don't think that there were that many teams just going gung ho for Sam Darnold. I really don't believe that there was that many. Now again, 3 years, 110, $55 million guaranteed. It is not going to set any records for most money. We saw, Josh Allen just got what, $250 million guaranteed, the most ever, $330 million extension. Is the MVP of the league in his prime. So that's the epitome of market value. But when you sign a Sam Darnold to this type of money, you have to ask yourself the question: Can this guy make other people around him better? They just traded DK Metcalf. Okay, Just trade DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf, 27 years old, still, I think, a legit top 10 to 15 receiver in this league. Still top 10, top 15 receiver, in my opinion. And, you got to ask yourself the question, like, is the gap between Sam Darnold and Geno Smith, was that how big was that gap? Is that gap? And again, I'm not a Geno Smith fan, but I mean, that gap, like, I mean, well, a better question is Geno Smith, is Sam Darnold better than Geno Smith? Like, seriously, I think it's a legitimate question. Now, you could say Geno Smith has never had a year like Sam Darnold, but when you look at the total body of work, is I like, I mean, now again, Sam Darnold is older, is younger, but it's not like Geno Smith. I mean, Geno, for the most part, has had a pretty good career. Had a relatively a solid career in Seattle. Now, again, this year he was not good. 15 interceptions, still completed 70% of his passes. But again, the gap is not that big between those two quarterbacks. It's not. Um, Look at the other quarterback news. Look at some of the other happenings with quarterbacks. With the quarterbacks, Geno Smith goes to Vegas again. Like, I know Pete Carroll. I understand it. You have that Vegas does have some talent. They have a top tight end. Uh, One of the best young tight ends in the league, if not the best young tight end in football right now. They have some nice pieces, but again, you're getting Geno Smith. It's kind of like, all right. Justin Fields goes to the New York Jets. Um, $30 million guaranteed. I like Justin Fields, but with that franchise, that is a disaster. Like that you talk about player development, that franchise does not develop talent, especially at the quarterback position. So you look at the NFL right now. Again, the worst mistake you can make in free agency and through trades in the NFL is trying to chase a quarterback. So the Philadelphia Eagles back in 20, I want to say in the mid 2020s or the mid 2010s. So they draft Carson Wentz. Okay, in 2016, he has a decent rookie season, not horrible, but you saw some talent there. Decent rookie season. Then he explodes in his second year and almost won the MVP of the league. He probably would have won the MVP if he wouldn't have got hurt and missed the last three games. Missed the last 3 games of the season, where he had 33 touchdowns and seven interceptions, and he finishes third in the MVP ballot in the MVP that year. Second team All Pro, made the Pro Bowl. That was it. That was the height of the Carson Wentz era in Philadelphia. Had a couple of decent seasons afterwards. 21-7, 27-7 as far as touchdowns to interceptions. Gets traded in the offseason in 2020 to Indianapolis. And please do a deep dive on what that trade ended up, how many players the Philadelphia ended up getting out of that trade up until this year. It's literally, I could really literally do a podcast on that. On that turn of events, completely changed their franchise and helped them win a Super Bowl this year. But anyway, he goes in Indianapolis. So what does Philly do? They don't sign Sam Darnold. They don't trade for a Geno Smith. You know what Philadelphia does? They draft Jalen Hurts, second round, 53rd pick. Okay. After this, they draft Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams in the 2021 draft. Okay. 2022 draft, Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean. All right. 23 draft, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. And last year, of course, Quentin Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and of course, they had one of the great off seasons of all time with signing Zach Bond and also, of course, Saquon Barkley. And again, there are other moves. There's so many moves that again, we don't even have time to go through all the moves. Of course, they had the AJ Brown trade from Tennessee, which they gave up next to nothing to get in terms of even with the picks, it still doesn't equate. I say that to say, and they just developed Jalen Hurts into being a MVP caliber quarterback. Jalen Hurts finished second in the MVP in 2022. This year, he was the Super Bowl MVP for the Eagles. The reason why I bring that up is, you know, the Josh Allen's, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, um, Andrew Luck's. I shouldn't say Lamar Jackson because he was drafted in the second round, but there are certain quarterbacks that are drafted top five. Jane Daniels this year that just are considered to be that guy. Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning. There are certain guys that you look at, you know that guy's going to be a big time player. Those guys are very few and far between. Very few and far between. And Justin Herbert as well, even though he struggled in the playoffs, he's still a franchise caliber quarterback. Again, those guys again are few and far between. Um, more times than not, you hit on a quarterback in the second, third round, or in the case of the Eagles, develop a quarterback and just stack the rest of your franchise and build to a point to where you have no weaknesses and to a point to where your quarterback doesn't have to be on the level of Lamar Jackson or Mahomes or Josh Allen. That's what most teams have to do. And overpaying for a quarterback in free agency or trading for a guy who we've had a decade's worth of tape and seasons in terms of where he's at, Geno Smith, it's not going to get it done. Now, again, Geno Smith could be a stopgap for the Raiders. Like they could draft if they think that Shedeur Sanders is that guy. They could draft Shedeur Sanders at the sixth pick, even though where he's looking now. I mean, Shedeur Sanders' stock is not real high right now. I still think somebody's going to take a chance at him with a top 10 pick. I really do. Even though he probably should be a mid to late first round pick, but he'll probably go top 10. But again, those can't miss guys are just not out there. Cam Ward is not a can't miss guy. He'll probably go number one, but he's not a can't miss guy. I'm not looking at Cam Ward saying, hey, this dude is for sure is going to be a big time player in the NFL. That guy is not in this draft at the quarterback position. He's not. He's not. He's just not. And more times than not, that guy year in and year out probably won't be in the draft. So we've seen some big time quarterbacks come out the last 6 to 8 years. Most franchises have to develop their roster and have to find a quarterback probably second, third round and develop that guy. I see so many of these teams chasing these quarterbacks and convincing themselves that no, he's the guy, and you just completely just set your franchise back. Seattle has no chance with Sam Darnold leading that team. They have no what are you doing? What are we going to do? They have zero chance. Darnold does not uplift a franchise. He just doesn't. He's had one good year in 7 pro seasons. He had one. Like what? I think he has more talent, but uh, what's the difference between? It's not that much of a difference between he and Daniel Jones as far as the resume. Now again, I believe he has more talent than Daniel Jones will ever have as far as throwing the football. I really do. But when you look at Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones got paid by the Giants off one good year. One good year, he got paid. Had the one good year. They went to the playoffs and decided that hey, this guy was the guy, and they're looking for a quarterback right now as we speak. That was the 2019 year where he had 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Again, and even looking back at that year wasn't like that. 24. I mean, like That hasn't aged well at all. That good year. He had that year, his best year, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And look at the rest of his careers. And he got paid off that 1 year. These teams continuously chase these quarterbacks and continuously get burnt. Pittsburgh drafts Kenny Pickett a couple few years ago in a first round pick. How many times has he been traded the last 2 years, 2 to 3 years? How many different teams has he been on? Just got traded a couple of days ago to Cleveland. And again, if you don't, if you're not sure, know that guy is that guy up top at the top of the draft, then just draft the quarterback in the third round or second round or fourth round. It's not hard. There's no rule book that says you have to take a quarterback in the first round or with a top five pick, top 10 pick, or you have to overpay in the free agency market for a quarterback. Now, if Seattle thought that they were a Sam Darnold away from the Super Bowl, oh, have at it. Have at it. A couple other things of note. I don't know what the fuck Pittsburgh is doing. Yes, I believe DK Metcalf could be a top 10 receiver. I still think he has a ton of talent. He still only 27 years old. Who's throwing him the football? Who's throwing him the football? And again, not right now, not the greatest culture, despite the stability with the coaching. You look at that Pittsburgh culture has been shaky for like the past 5 years, the past 5 to 7 years, even going back towards the tail end of the Antonio Brown era. It started then, to be honest with you. You look at how some of those receivers have behaved and have acted. Just go look back at it. The Pittsburgh fans, the diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fans know exactly what I'm talking about. Know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, you see the Commanders and Patriots spend a ton of their money. Commanders are taking some heat for this Javon Kinlaw. Again, Kinlaw signing today. Again, one of these guys that we know they had to address some defensive line. They lost Jonathan Allen, but again, they probably were not bidding against anybody. Um, I know the Patriots had a lot of needs and they had a ton of money to spend, which sometimes could be a bad combination. And um, I look at the Patriots signings. I don't have that big a problem with a lot of them, but I don't I completely I don't understand if you're the Patriots. I don't understand Morgan Moses at 34 years old as your as your tackle. 34 years old, Morgan Moses. I remember Morgan Moses was a commander. Was on the Washington football team when they were the Washington football team. He might have been on the team when they were the Redskins. He's 34 years old. And speaking of tackles, Washington trades for Laramie Tunsil, which makes way more sense. Laramie Tunsil still only 30, has 4-time Pro Bowler. Last year, ranked second in pressure rate amongst left tackles with at least 75 snaps. He was the highest rated tackle last year. So he's still playing at a Pro Bowl, even all pro caliber level. I totally get that one. But Morgan Moses to the Patriots, that one I just don't I don't understand. And again, that's what you're gonna see. I mean, that's what you're gonna see with with a lot of these free agent signings. Remember with about free agency. It's like 2 a.m. at the bar. Like some bad things could happen after 2 a.m. at the bar. The drinks may not be as good. I mean, you're not you're not taking home Holly Berry. I'll leave it at that. But these teams either franchise the best players, they re-sign the best players, or most of these guys are cooked, are 30 and over and are cooked. You're not going to see a lot of top guys, difference makers that are free agents. It's just not how the NFL works. Again, either franchise, re-sign, or get or contract extension. That's where the majority of the top players. Those are the categories that the majority of the top players fall into. Now, I do love. I know he was in a bad situation and put up some empty stats with the Jets. I do love what the Rams did in terms of getting Devontae Adams. I still think you put Devontae Adams as a number two receiver with Sean McVay as your offensive mind. Stafford, they give Stafford the contract extension. I think Devontae Adams could do some damage with the Rams as a number two receiver. He still, has 7 touchdowns. They don't need him to be a Devontae Adams of 2019, 20, and 21, where he was arguably the best receiver in football, certainly in that conversation. He could be just a number two complimentary to Puka, who is one of the best receivers in football. I absolutely love that move. He goes to a real culture. We see, listen, Devontae Adams in great cultures has produced. Packers, winning with the Packers, has the best years of his career. The playing with the Raiders, Jets, look what happens. And even with the Raiders, he had some decent years. But I love Adams to the Rams. I really like that move a lot. As far as the Rams picking him up, the Rams will certainly be making a Super Bowl run next year. They remember the Rams last year in the playoffs had the ball basically on the 24-yard line, down by 6 points. They came closer than anybody to beating the Eagles. But again, it's the same song. It's the same deal with these teams in free agency. You can't chase quarterbacks, and I think the most successful teams in free agency make the less moves. If I see a team sign more than 4 players, then my antennas go up. To be honest with you, sign more than 4 players outside of their own. I mean, I'm dismissed re-signing your own. I'm saying you sign like Baltimore signed 3 players. 2 of them were their own. Like that's a stable franchise. Baltimore signed picked up DeAndre Hopkins. That's a classic Baltimore signing, a veteran wide receiver. We've seen him do it before with Steve Smith Sr. We've seen they've done it a number of times, picking guys up late in their careers. I believe they got Anquan Bolden late in his career. They picked up a number of receivers late in their careers, and they've ended up producing for the Ravens. So um, again, I don't know what these teams are doing with these quarterbacks. Uh, I absolutely would not have touched Sam Darnold. I just wouldn't have did it. I would have waited till that price dropped. If you're Seattle again, first for that price, I don't. It makes zero sense for the for Seattle to sign him. They have been better off, frankly, with keeping Geno Smith. I don't think there's a big jump, especially without DK Metcalf. I don't think there's a big jump between Sam Darnold and Geno Smith. I don't think it's that big of an upgrade. I really don't. I don't think now all of a sudden Seattle didn't make the playoffs this year, and they won't make the playoffs next year. I don't think all of a sudden Sam Darnold elevates Seattle to the playoffs. I don't. Around the NBA, we're going to talk about the MVP. The MVP. I could have done a deep dive on this. Now is the appropriate time that we can really have a conversation about the MVP of the NBA. It's March. I don't like having these conversations in November, December, January, February. Now is the time that it's an appropriate time to have um, this conversation. And it is with all due respect to Giannis, with all due respect to Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, it is absolutely, and it has been for like the last basically 6 weeks or so, month or so, a two-person conversation between Joker and SGA. And I'm gonna tell you the way I'm gonna explain it like this. this is a situation, this is a year similar to the NFL this year where you're going to have more than one MVP. These two guys are having insane years, in like years that, like, and I'll break it down in a second. These are MVP caliber years. Giannis is having an MVP caliber year, to be honest with you. So I mean, I can make a case for three MVPs, but these two have completely absolutely separated themselves from the rest of the pack. It is okay to have multiple MVPs in the same year. Just because one of them wins it does not mean the other one did not. It's not a knock against the other guy. It's not. Um, so you look at the history of the NBA. Oklahoma City's on pace to win 67 games. Let's say their baseline is 64. Let's say they only win 64. In the history of the NBA, there have only been a handful of teams that have won that many games and not had the MVP. Uh, you go back to last year. You go back to last year. The Celtics won 64 games. Joker clearly was the MVP. 2017, you had the Spurs in 2016. Excuse me, the Spurs won 67 games in 2016, and Stephen Curry won, of course, won MVP. Won MVP because Golden State won 73 games that year. Karl Malone, Russell Westbrook wins the MVP in 2017. That year again, the Spurs. That year again, the Spurs. Golden State won over 60 plus games. I could check that. I could check that real quick, but yeah, Westbrook, and that MVP hasn't aged well. That MVP certainly has not aged well, to be honest with you. Because I could make a case that Kawhi Leonard probably should have been an MVP in 2017. Karl Malone in '97 wins MVP. Um, Chicago won 69 games, and again, that MVP hasn't aged well. Magic Johnson '89 won MVP. The Pistons won 63 games. In 1972, the Lakers won 69 games. They had a 33 game winning streak. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won the MVP. That was a time when players were voting for the MVP. 60 in 2008. Yeah, the Celtics win 66 games. Kobe Bryant wins the MVP. Great MVP race, by the way. With Kobe, Garnett, Chris Paul was second. Garnett and LeBron was in the mix as well. 2009, Lakers win 65 games. LeBron wins MVP. 2022, the Phoenix Suns win 64 games. Joker wins MVP. So it is not a given that a team wins 60 plus games and you have and that player, the best player from that team, wins MVP. But here's what I'm gonna say. First of all, I myself, I think SGA is going to win the MVP. Um, if I had a vote today, I would probably lean towards SGA. And again, this is not a knock on Joker at all. I'll get into his numbers. I still got to value winning. It's hard. It's hard for me not to give an MVP to a guy whose team is probably going to win 65, anywhere from 65 to 67 games, when he's leading the league in scoring, when he has not had his second best player for the majority for a lot of the season in Chet Holmgren, when he is an above average defensive player. I just think SGA has been just as consistent as consistent can be. SGA is shooting 58% on 2-point field goals this season. Let me put that in perspective. Shaq on 2-point field goals shot 57% in his MVP season in 2000. Okay. And I think that, I think it's easier to defend SGA. There are more players that match up physically with SGA than Joker. Like think about all the players between the height of say 6'5" to 6'9" that can physically match up with SGA. Nobody can guard him, but that can physically match up with SGA. There are more players that I can throw at SGA in the league than I can at Joker. Like how many there's nobody you can throw at Joker, to be honest with you. Like there's no even a healthy Wembanyama, too small, too skinny. Uh I mean, we know what he does to Gobert, but physically, there's just not that many big men like that you could throw at Joker. So I that to me, is part of it. I think there are more guys just defensively that can match up with SGA. But again, let me tell you something. If Joker wins the MVP this year, I will have zero problem with it. I'm not. Listen, this is not like a Lamar Jackson situation where if Lamar Jackson would have won MVP, you would have three MVPs with no championship, with no Super Bowl appearance. No, this is not that. Joker has a championship. He has a Finals MVP. What the stuff that Joker is doing statistically is some of the stuff we haven't seen since Will Chamberlain. We haven't like that. Like literally, you have to go back to Will Chamberlain to compare. That's the only comparison. That's the only comparison. Like I mean, he's averaging on a team that's number two in the West, and Gordon has missed a lot, has missed some games. Jamal Murray has been inconsistent. Um, he's only got 29 points, 13 rebounds, 10.5 assists on 57% from the field, 43% from three, 80% from the line. Um, Night in and night out. Like I said, no one has put up those numbers since Will Chamberlain. I'm gonna tell you, you gotta go back to give me some Will Chamberlain numbers that are comparable to Joker. Um, and he won MVP in all these years, by the way. Joker, and I'll take it in the Philadelphia numbers, Philadelphia years. 65, 66. Will Chamberlain was averaged 33 and 25 and 5 assists on 54% from the field. Um, Now, and again, that doesn't include the block shots because they didn't keep it. God knows how many block shots he would have had. 33 and 25 on 54% from the field. Okay. The next year he won MVP again, 24 and 24, right? On 68% from the field. That was probably his best year considering the team. They led the 67 Sixers to a championship, one of the greatest teams of all time. I'll repeat the stats. 24 and 24 and almost 8 assists a game, 68% from the field. And again, blocking everything in sight. We don't even have the block shot numbers, unfortunately. 68, his third straight MVP. He's only one or two players to ever win three straight MVPs, along with Larry Bird, who did it from 84 to 86. 24 and 23, 24 points, 23 rebounds, 59% from the field, 8.6 assists. So those are comparable. That's the only numbers I've seen. The only comparable numbers that I've seen to Joker. And again, we didn't have all the analytics and the metrics and win shares and all that shit. I'm just looking at the straight field goal percentage, points, rebounds, assists. Unfortunately, and again, and I still would take Joker's numbers from the standpoint of Joker shooting 8% from the line. Will Chamberlain shot 51, 44, and 38% from the line. No 3-point shooting, of course, from Will. Why shoot threes if you're Will Chamberlain? But that is the from a offensive standpoint, that is the only player that is even comparable to what Joker's doing. Think about no player, not Hakeem, not Prime Shaq, not Jordan, LeBron, whoever you want to talk throw in there. No player has put up those type of numbers. Maybe a couple Kareem years in the 70s, maybe at that in terms of the scoring, but not definitely not the rebound and the assists. And Kareem had some crazy numbers. Kareem had some numbers where like he had some 36 in 16 years, but the assists were not there. Yeah, he actually was an underrated defensive player, but the assists were not even close. I'm talking about points, rebounds, and assists and field goal percentage. So that's what like that you are watching a historic year in terms of what Joker is doing. This is like history. This is offensive history that you're watching night in and night out. So again, I have no problem if Joker wins his fourth MVP in 5 years. I have these guys, both of these guys are legit MVP can't like this is a year where you're gonna have somebody is gonna lose the MVP that was more than worthy of winning the MVP. And again, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it was nothing wrong with Josh Allen winning the MVP over Lamar Jackson. It would have been nothing wrong if Saquon Barkley had won it, or if Lamar Jackson had won it. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. I would have. I thought I thought Josh Allen was the MVP, but I had zero problem with whoever would have won it. There's no bad. There's no. It's not gonna be a situation where it's gonna be highway robbery. That's not happening. You're gonna get a guy. Whoever wins the MVP will be more than deserving. SGA right now has the biggest odds, but the Joker momentum is starting to pick up, especially in the national media. I saw some stuff on the Ringer where they had 9 out of their 10 writers had Joker as the MVP. So, and some of those guys, I'm sure some of those guys had votes. So, some momentum. SGA had the lot in the last straw poll that Tim Bontemps at ESPN keeps, which has been very accurate over the last 4 or 5, over the last 3 or 4 years, in terms of where the MVP is at. SGA had a slight lead over Joker, but it was not a huge. It was not something that could not be made up. As far as OKC, there were a couple of showdowns. In particular, Denver. I would. I'm not gonna go too crazy about either one of those games. I would put more stock into the Sunday game than I would the Monday game. I don't. This is one of the problems I have with the NBA schedule. I don't like when two teams of that caliber go back to back, especially on one team's home court. I think the Sunday game will give you a better indication, but even that, I mean, Aaron Gordon gets hurt, so I can't put too much stock into that. It certainly did not shift didn't shift what I thought about the MVP from that standpoint. Both Joker was spectacular last night on Monday. Was spectacular last night. SGA probably had an off game. SGA was spectacular on Sunday. Joker was average for him, mediocre for him mediocre. After a big first quarter and after fell on his elbow, really wasn't the same player in terms of shooting the basketball. So they split their 4 meetings over the course of the season. Again, I don't think that those 4 meetings will have minimum impact on the award. I still think the award is somewhat up for grabs. I would give again SGA a slight edge, but I'm starting to pick up. There's starting to become a lot of steam and a lot of momentum for Joker. And again, it would not be a surprise, shock, or what have you if he won his fourth MVP in 5 years. Who won the week? Well, Stephen A. Smith. Um, he signs one of the largest television contracts of a sports personality, $100 million, 20 years, not 20 years, 4 years, $100 million worth every dime. Whether you love him or hate him, he is the face of the network. They've been First Take has been on top for like 13 straight years. He's the greatest sports debater of all time. There's no ifs ands or buts about him. I could do without his politics because he don't know it doesn't know anything about politics, especially as an expert. But that's okay. You could just choose to ignore that. But as a sports personality, in terms of what he's done with that show and done He is the face and the most important personality by far on ESPN. That's just it. No ifs, ands, or buts. And he won the battle by far against LeBron James. We'll get into that in Real Thoughts. He easily won that battle. Easily. So Stephen A. Smith wins the week. And let's get into LeBron versus Stephen A. So of course after Lakers play the Knicks Thursday night. Stephen A. Smith on the same day, I believe the same day that he signed his contract, was in attendance, courtside seats. LeBron pulls up in the third quarter during a timeout and basically comes at Stephen A. Stop fucking with my son. That's my son. It was a very short conversation. Stephen A. got a couple words in, but it wasn't. But this was mostly LeBron. This went viral, and became the talk of weekend for the most part, and even into this week. Stephen A. Stephen A. got his lick back though in terms of content. First take the next morning, on his own podcast the following day, and today he was on Gil's Arena with Gilbert Arenas and company. Here's what I'm gonna say. So I think a lot of people missed the boat in terms of why LeBron was pissed off, and it had way less to do about Brian James than I think what people realize. Everybody got on protecting his son and so on and so on. You had to listen very carefully to what Stephen A. said that set LeBron James off. This came from a Philadelphia game in January when Bronny got into the game. It was a blowout, and he was horrible in the game, even to a point where JJ Redick semi criticized him during the press conference. Okay, that's how bad he was. And Stephen A. goes up there post game, basically says, "I'm pleading with you as a father, stop this." So, get into the mind of LeBron James. First of all, the way Stephen A. said it, you would think that they were either best friends, or you would think that he was a mentor, a close family figure of LeBron James. Like, that's how it came off. Like, like, over the course of our lives, your mother and your father have had that conversation with you. Don't do it. Don't do it, son. Don't do it, daughter. I'm pleading with you, please. I've been down this road before. That's the that's the energy that it gave off. And again, I'm not defending LeBron at all. We'll get into that. But I'm like, if you're LeBron James, you're probably like, whoa, wait a minute, hold up. We not cool. Like, I don't rock with you like that. You don't rock with me like that. Like, I'm pleading with me as a father. Like, what are we talking about here? So that's why I think pissed off LeBron even more so than what was said about Brian James. Everybody, a lot of people have said Brian James is not an NBA player, belongs in the G League. LeBron's heard that 10,000 times over. With that being said, how this was handled by LeBron James Jr., LeBron James, excuse me, it was, it was a sucker move in pulling up on Stephen A. It was, I'm gonna call it what it is. It was a straight sucker move because you, your son is a grown man. He's a grown ass man. Like, and I hear y'all with this bullshit about he was being a father. You know what You know what great fathers do? They allow their sons, in particular, to become men at some point in their lives. They allow their sons to be men. Bronny James Jr. is not 10 years old. I hate to let people in on this secret. He's not. He is a grown ass man with a fully guaranteed contract who plays professional basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers. If anything, I would have way more respect for LeBron James if he would have told Bronny once it was identified that Stephen A was in the building, "Hey, Bronny, Go tell him how you feel during the timeout. I'll let you know. I'll give you the cue. Go tell him how you feel. And if Bronny walks up and checks Stephen A. and lets him, not even checks him, but just says, look, I don't appreciate da-da-da-da. Okay, cool. You better have that conversation behind closed doors and what have you. But I would respect that a hell of a lot more than a 6'9", 270-pound guy pulling up on a 6'1" reporter, 6'1" television personality. And I saw y'all on Twitter, I saw y'all on X, whatever the fuck. I saw y'all, hear y'all comments in various YouTube. You know, somebody finally checked Stephen A. Do you understand how much that didn't hurt Stephen A? Hey, what are you kidding me? I just told you. He, if anything, he probably put more money in Stephen A's pocket with in terms of ratings. You know probably what those numbers were like on first take the next day. People anticipating it. His podcast numbers were probably like his podcast numbers were. People anticipating what he's going to say. You think that hurts Stephen A. Smith? What? Are you kidding me? Like, what are we talking about? Stephen A. clearly won that battle. He clearly won that. You think you think that's going to stop Stephen A. from criticizing LeBron James, Bronny James in the future? Like, mum's going to be the word from here on out? No, not at all. Not in the least bit. And Stephen A. was right. And again, I rarely agree with Stephen A. Smith. Rarely. But in this case, he's 100% right. You put him in a position, you put him in the put him in a danger zone as far as in terms of this criticism. You put him in a firing squad, so to speak. You skip steps. You didn't develop him. He could have went to college for another year. He could have been undrafted instead of drafted, taking up a spot. You did this. LeBron James did this. No one else did this. LeBron James Jr. There's no victims here. LeBron James Jr. is not a victim of the big bad wolf Stephen A. Smith or the rest of the media that's been critical of him. No, that's not how this thing works. That's not how life works. The NBA is the highest level of basketball in the world. Period. You are going to, everybody is critiqued. Coaches, players, officials, the training staff, everybody a part of it, everybody from LeBron James to the guy that from everybody in the organization gets critiqued. That's what it is. It is what it is. And again, that's not, I'm sorry, that is not, y'all want to call it being a father. That's not good. I'm going to just come out and say it. That's not good parenting. Like, it's just not from that standpoint. What is Bronny James Jr., what is Bronny James learning from his dad taking up for him from Stephen A. Smith? What is the message? What is the lesson here? How is that helping him? Think about basketball in life. Please, somebody help me. Explain that to me. I'm going to put that. Matter of fact, that's going to be the poll question. How did LeBron James help Bronny James with pulling up to Stephen A. Smith? You tell me. Not only short term, but long term. You please explain to me. No. Like, y'all make it seem like there's a situation where you have some a grown man picking on your 10-year-old or your teenage son. This was not the case physically, or even getting in their face, or even verbally. No, this is not. Let's not make it like that. This is not the case whatsoever. There are no victims here at all. So clearly Stephen A. won this battle, whatever battle you want to call it a battle. So it is what it is. LeBron did not, LeBron's had better moments, to say the least. He completely mishandled Bronny James's entry into the NBA, and he completely mishandled this situation as well. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. Thank you. Um, Thank you for all your support as we get countdown to 1,000 episodes of the Real Deal Podcast. I will see you next time. We'll be producing a mini pod later on this week as well. Stay tuned for that. Have a great rest of your evening and a great rest of your week. So long.